Prabhuji, I've placed the screen from where we have to start. Is that okay? Or
Yeah, sure. Okay. Any volunteers to read today? Suchi Smith, you can yourself read.
yes, Prabhuji. There are four different sects of Vaishnav Acharyas, and each follows a different variation of personalism. Shuddha Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, Dvait, Dvaita Advaita, and Achintya Abheda Bhed. All the Vaishnava Acharyas in these schools have written commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, but the Mayavadi philosophers do not recognize them. The Mayavadis distinguish between Krishna and Krishna's body, and therefore they do not recognize the worship of Krishna by the Vaishnava philosophers. Thus, when the Mayavadi sannyasis asked Lord Chaitanya why he did not study the Vedanta Sutra, the Lord replied, "Dear sirs, you have asked why I do not study the Vedanta, and in answer to this, I could speak something, but I am afraid you would be sorry to hear it." All the Mayavadi sannyasis replied, "We shall be very much pleased to hear you, because we see that you are just like Narayan, and your speeches are so nice that we are taking great pleasure in them. We are very much obliged to see and hear you. Therefore, we shall be very glad to hear patiently and accept whatever you say." The Lord then began to speak on Vedanta philosophy as follows. The Vedanta Sutra is spoken by the Supreme Lord Himself. The Supreme Lord, in His incarnation as Vyasadeva, has compiled this great philosophical treatise. Since Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he cannot be likened to an ordinary person who has the four defects which arise due to contact with material existence. The defects of a conditioned soul are: 1, he must commit mistakes; 2, he must be illusioned; 3, he must possess the tendency to cheat others; and 4, all his senses must be imperfect. We must understand that the incarnation of God is transcendental to all these defects. Thus, whatever has been spoken and written by Vyasadeva is considered to be perfect. The Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra aim at the same goal, the supreme absolute truth. When we accept the direct import of the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, that is glorious. But the commentaries made by Shankaracharya are indirect and are thus very dangerous for the common man to read. For by understanding the import of the Upanishads in such an indirect, disruptive way, one practically bars himself from spiritual realization. According to the Skand and the Vayu Purans, the word sutra refers to a condensed work which carries meaning and import of immeasurable strength without any mistake or fault. The word Vedanta means the end of Vedic knowledge. In other words, any book which deals with the subject matter indicated by all the Vedas is called Vedanta. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is Vedanta because in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the ultimate goal of all Vedic research is Krishna. Thus, one should understand that the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavad, which aim only at Krishna, are Vedanta. In transcendental realization, there are three divisions of knowledge called Prasthan Traya, that department of knowledge which is proved by Vedic instructions like the Upanishads, is called Shruti Prasthan. Authoritative books indicating the ultimate goal and written by liberated souls like Vyasdev. For example, the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and Purans, especially Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahapuran, are called Smriti Prasthan. From the Vedic literature, we understand that the Vedas originated from the breathing of Narayan. Vyasadeva, who is an incarnation of the power of Narayan, compiled the Vedanta Sutra, Nyaya Prasthan. But according to Shankara's commentaries, Apan Taratma Shrishi is also sometimes credited with having compiled the aphorisms of Vedanta Sutra. According to Lord Chaitanya, the conclusions of the verses of the Pancharatra and the aphorisms of the Vedanta are one and the same. Since the Vedanta Sutra is compiled by Vyasadeva, it should be understood to be spoken by Narayan himself. From all the descriptive literature dealing with the Vedanta Sutra, it appears that there were many other rishis contemporary with Vyasadeva who also discussed the Vedanta Sutra. These sages were Atreya, Ashmaratya, Adul, Adulumi, Karshanajali, Jini, Kashatri, Tasna, Jasmini, and Badri, while other sages such as Parashri and Kardamani discussed the Vedanta before Vyasadeva. In the first two chapters of the Vedanta Sutra, the relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Lord is explained. And in the third chapter, the discharge of devotional service is explained. The fourth chapter deals with the result of discharging devotional service. The natural commentary of the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. The great acharyas of the four Vaishnava communities, Sampradayas, namely Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, and Nibbarak, have also written commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra by following the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. The followers of these acharyas down to the present day have written many books following the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam and accepting it as the natural commentary on the Vedanta. Shankara's commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, known as Sharira Bhasya, is very much adored by the impersonalist scholars, but such materialistic commentaries are completely adverse to the transcendental service of the Lord. Consequently, Lord Chaitanya said that direct commentaries on the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra are glorious, but that anyone who follows the indirect path of Shankaracharya's Sharira Bhas is certainly doomed. Lord Chaitanya admitted that Shankaracharya was an incarnation of Lord Shiva, and it is known that Lord Shiva is one of the greatest devotees, a Mahajan of the Bhagavad school. There are 12 Mahajans, great authorities on devotional service, and Lord Shiva is one of them. Why then did he adopt the process of Mayavad philosophy? The answer is given in the Shiva Puran, where the Supreme Lord tells Shiva. Prabhuji, my reading might not be so appropriate. I'll try.
Yeah,
Dvaparādau yuge bhutva kalaya manu shadhishu swagmai swagmai kalpitais swayam cha janan ma vimukhan kuru. Please forgive me for my mistakes. In the beginning of the Kali Yuga, by my order, bewilder the people in general with Mayavad philosophy. In the Padma Puran, Lord Shiva tells his wife, Bhagavati Devi, Mayaya Vadam Achach Chastram Pracharnam Bhaudam Uchate Mayaiva Mayaiva Kalpitam Devi Kalau Brahmana Rupina. Brahmanas chapanram rupam nirgunam vikshyate maya sarvaswam jagatopi asya mohan artham kalau yuge. Vedante tu mahashastre maya vadam avedikam maya eva vikashit Vikashite Devi Jagatam Nasa Karana. The Mayavad philosophy is wielded Buddhism. In other words, the voiced philosophy of Buddha is more or less repeated in the Mayavad philosophy of imperialism. Although the Mayavadi philosophers claim to be directed by the Vedic conclusions. As a Brahmana boy, I manufactured this philosophy in the age of Kali to mislead the atheists. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has this transcendental body, but I describe the Supreme as impersonal. I also explain the Vedanta Sutra according to the same principles of Mayavad philosophy. Lord Shiva continues speaking to Bhagavati Devi as follows. Shruno Devi Prayakshimyami Tamasani Yatha Kraman Yesham Shravana Matrena Patityam Gyanina Api Apartham Shruti Vakhyana Darshaya Loka Grahitam Karma Swarupa Tyaj Yatam Tvam Atra Cha Pratipadyate Sarva Karma Paribhra Paribhramshan Neshkarmayam Tatra Chochate Paratma Jivoyor Ekam Ekyam Mayatra Apratipadyate. My dear Devi, sometimes I teach Mayavad philosophy for those who are engrossed in the mode of ignorance. But anyone in the mode of goodness who happens to hear this Mayavad philosophy falls down. For when I teach Mayavad philosophy, I say that the living entity and the Supreme Lord are one and the same. Sadanand Yogindra, one of the greatest Mayavadi acharyas, has written in his book Vedanta Sutra, the absolute truth of eternity, knowledge, and bliss is Brahman. Ignorance and all products of ignorance are non-Brahman. All products of the three modes of material nature are covered by ignorance, and all are different from the supreme cause and effect. This ignorance is manifested in a collective and individual sense. Collective ignorance is called Vishuddha Sattva Pradhan. When the Vishuddha Sattva Pradhan is manifested within the ignorance of material nature, it is called the Lord. And the Lord manifests all kind of ignorance. Therefore, he is known as Sarvagya. Thus, according to Mayavad philosophy, the Lord is a product of this material nature, and the living entity is in the lowest stage of ignorance. That is the sum and
Hare
substance
Krishna.
of Mayavad philosophy. Yes, Prabhuji.
Very good. Okay. So, well, some of these things may find you may find it difficult to understand, but to make it simple, there are many details, but to make it simple, when Brahman contacts the mode of goodness, I think I explained this in the previous class. Anyway, I'm repeating it again. When Brahman contacts the mode of goodness, then you have all the deities which Shankaracharya recommended to worship, Shiva, Ganesh, and so on. So then you have Brahman in contact with the mode of passion is the jivas, Brahman in the mode of in contact with the mode of ignorance is the material world. So therefore, Brahman in contact with modes of passion is lower than Brahman in the Brahman in contact with the mode of goodness, because passion is below goodness. Therefore, they recommend the process of panchopasana, worship of the five deities, and so by which eventually and by the practice of Mayavada and things like that, eventually they claim that the soul realizes there is no difference between us and God. We're all one. In fact, that one is in fact not even consciously aware also. There, that one is not even consciously aware. It does not have any awareness of I am or something like this. It's just some plain blank state of consciousness without even self-awareness. They don't. It doesn't even have the concept of I. This is their theory, the Mayavada theory. I just wanted to say, just to make it simple, because here there are many things you are explained, but essential thing is this: the Brahman in the mode of goodness, Brahman in the mode of passion, Brahman in the mode of ignorance, and when Brahman in the mode of passion worship Brahman in the mode of goodness, then they get elevated. I mean, not just that Panchopasana is not the alone is not the process of the system. That's one of the things. Then you could also study Vedanta and all these different things. So finally, when the soul gets liberated, then then the soul realizes, oh, we are all one. There is only one. And in fact, there's not even that state of consciousness of we or I and nothing. That's it. It's just a blank state of consciousness without even the concept of I or self-awareness.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
This last statement that you gave is regarding the mode of goodness?
No. See, ultimately, all these are the only existent reality is Brahman, according to them. The only existent reality is Brahman, who's not self-conscious and all that. Who's just a state of consciousness. That's it. But not even self-aware, I and all that doesn't arise. Those kind of things don't arise. Just plain state of consciousness. Now, how did that plain state of consciousness come under Maya? That's our fundamental question, right? How can it come under the control of Maya if it is the highest state of reality? How can the highest state of reality come under the control of something lesser? So that means that something lesser is higher than that highest reality. So there's a fundamental contradiction there. The moment you say Brahman was overcome by Maya, then what? What does it mean? That the Maya is more powerful than Brahman. So to counter this, they have only one argument. It is called Sad Asad Anirvachaniya. It is eternal, temporary, and indescribable. That's all. So if you ask them how it is that Brahman got covered by Maya, they'll say you Sad, Asad, Avan Anirvachaniya, which means that it is eternal, not eternal, and it is indescribable. That's all. So this is their answer. But our Vaishnava Acharyas deal with it they have comprehensively defeated this philosophy. Within that, there is many technicalities. It's not that Shankaracharya is just some simplistic philosopher and very, very sophisticated arguments. for which our Acharya is also given equally sophisticated counter arguments. Like Jiva Goswami is considered one of the greatest philosophers ever born. And even before Jiva Goswami, the Madhvacharya, like Prabhupada says that, right? I don't know if this is from here, Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm very confused because we are reading so many things. So I don't know whether we ever came across the expression called Tattvamasi. Did we come across Prabhupada speaking anywhere here? Tattvamasi.
I
He
don't know.
speaks about it in the introduction to Bhagavatam, and he also speaks about it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyway, their sloka, our sloka is Gopi Bartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasanu Dasa. This is our sloka, our slogan. But the slogan of the Mayavadis is Tattvam Asi. So in Sanskrit, what happens is you don't get uh, phrases and sentences like that. You actually, what happens is, what's one big paragraph? It is split by the scholars or the grammarians into sentences. That is how Sanskrit is written. Sanskrit is written as paragraph. So Shankaracharya splits it as Tattvamasi. Madhvacharya, what he does is, like, if you take the whole paragraph, there are things before that also, right? So, it's like one continuous thing it is. So you have to break it and make it a sentence. So Madhvacharya breaks it as Atatvamasi, which means you are not that. So it's not that our acharyas have just skipped the topic and just spoken about Krishna. No, they have very comprehensively defeated Mayavada. Even if you take the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's purports, which especially, I think it is, I forget the sloka number. Never was there a time when I was not born, nor you were born. Neither there'll ever be a time when I shall cease to exist, nor should you cease to exist. If you read the purport to that, purport to that text by Prabhupada, you'll find that some things are very incomprehensible. You can try it after this class today. Some things are very incomprehensible. But if you read Baladev Vidyabhushan, and also if you read specifically Ramanujacharya, if you want to understand the purport of Prabhupada fully, then you need to read Ramanujacharya's explanation of the same verse. Then you'll understand, oh, this is what Prabhupada is saying here. So the Acharyas have refuted Mayavada very, very comprehensively. One of the ways they have refuted is using this shloka. It may appear Prabhupada has given a very simple purport. Not simple. Prabhupada has made things very simple for us. Of course, even that purport is not easy to figure out. What is Prabhupada saying here? But if you read Ramanujacharya, then there is a detailed argument about what is being described. He, Baladev Vidyabhushan, they all deal with that extensively. So Mayavada is not some simplistic kind of thing. That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavadya Bhashya Sunile Hoye Sarvanash. Means you will completely destroy yourself if you study Mayavada. It's not because they have a very sophisticated set of arguments. But nevertheless, on this topic, they only say Sad Asad Anirvachaniya on the topic of how can the Supreme be overcome by Maya. Okay, some thoughts. I just shared some thoughts on this so far. Any thoughts, questions? Normally, we don't take at the middle, but since this topic is a little bit fuzzy, so let's take some questions if you want to ask some. Okay, so we'll go ahead. You may wonder, why is it that Krishna ordered Shankaracharya or Krishna ordered Lord Shiva to preach some false philosophy? So, first of all, when the Lord does something, there is always some meaning to what the Lord does. He doesn't do things randomly or erratically or I mean, haphazardly. So during the time of Buddha, there are verses in the Vedic scriptures which speak about cow slaughter, where not cow slaughter, sorry, cow sacrifice, where you can kill a cow, where the cow would get an immediate human birth. So there are descriptions in scripture which apparently permit meat eating, or at least killing of animals. So I mean, yeah, of course, there is this whole argument whether Rama is vegetarian or not. The Madhvas in their acharyas in their line, the acharyas have commented that Lord Ramachandra was a vegetarian, but the followers of Ramanuja, they accept that Lord Ramachandra ate meat. But when Prabhupada asks this question, he doesn't say yes or no to the question. He simply says, Lord Ramachandra is God, he can eat whatever he wants. That's so that's how he responds. Because he's God, he's absolute. So why did I bring up this point about
From Buddhism, Prabhuji? We're talking about
what?
Mayavadi.
Mayavadi and how Buddhism from Buddhism, Mayavadi came.
What? Okay. I was talking about the plan of the Lord. Okay. So Buddhism. So they interpreted not Buddhism. Sorry. Before at the time of Buddhism, they interpreted Vedic scriptures to commit animal killing of animals. So it became so messy at that time. So Krishna came down. I mean, as Buddha is an empowered incarnation of the Lord. Can as well. I mean, he generally is considered an avatar, but he's a jiva who's empowered by the Lord. Anyway, so he was the category of avatar. Avesh, I mean, he was specifically empowered by the Lord, Buddha. So what did he do? He rejected the Vedas. Because Vedas, they're using Vedas to also reject the Vedas. Now, one thing that we need to understand about Buddhism is that here we worship Buddha because he's incarnation of God. We worship God, but we reject God's teachings. Because those teachings of God are against the Vedas. Because Krishna describes this, Krishna is one of the characters of Krishna, he is Shastra Chakshu, which means we accept the teachings of God only when he accepts scripture. We don't accept the teachings of God when he does not accept scripture. We accept God at all times. But we don't accept the teachings of God when he rejects scripture. This is our understanding. So Buddha is God, but he rejected the Vedas. Because he rejected the Vedas, we don't accept the teachings of God who rejected Vedas. So why? But it's God himself is doing. We know it's a pastime. So therefore, we're not supposed to take those teachings. I mean, of course, that's what is it? The basic point is you're not supposed to. I don't know how to put it. Use logical streams of thinking to come up with your own understanding. Like for example, if you use logical ways of thinking, then the problem is that okay, God, it's God, so everything is absolute. So if everything is absolute, we have to accept whatever he said also. That's not exactly how we do. We don't just go by some mundane logic there. I mean, not mundane logic, just logic of the absolute also. We have to follow what the acharyas have said. Acharyas have said we don't accept the teachings of Buddha because he may be God. Even Jayadev Goswami has glorified him in a song. He may be God, but when God goes against Vedas, we don't accept those teachings. So Krishna came as Buddha, or I mean, yeah, you could say that he's an empowered incarnation of the Lord. So in the form of Buddha, the Lord rejected the Vedas. Now, you cannot have any spiritual advancement without accepting the authority of the Vedas. So Shankaracharya was ordered by Lord Krishna to go and re-establish the authority of the Vedas. And on the other hand, it also depends on the qualification of the audience at that point in time. So they were very much materialistic. So Krishna says that if somebody is very inclined to pursue materialistic ways, then Krishna provides that opportunity also. So Krishna provided that opportunity through telling Shankaracharya to preach Mayavada. Because if it's Mayavada, it is explained in the introduction to Bhagavatam and elsewhere that people will be encouraged to generate progeny. Because if the only form of enjoyment that exists is really material enjoyment, everything else is just some blank, what do you call it, state of consciousness, then who would be really so attracted to that? No, so they would think, okay, I'm getting some enjoyment now with my senses. Let me just enjoy. And so it's especially explained that people would think, okay, the best form of enjoyment is anyway sex enjoyment. So let me just have sex enjoyment and increase progeny. So that is one of the things which is mentioned. People will be encouraged to create this kind of progeny because that's what they were also. I mean, they were just very materialistic people. So Krishna timed things accordingly. He timed Buddha correctly. He timed Shankaracharya correctly because Shankaracharya, uh, one aspect of it is misleading the people. The other aspect of it is reviving the authority of the Vedas. Both of them happen simultaneously. Then, of course, we have Ramanuja who came, then Madhva, and finally, until Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, the truth becomes slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly revealed until the full manifestation of truth appeared when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I just wanted to give a short background.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, but I still have, I still wonder why Lord Buddha brought in the Vaidism philosophy or Vaidism. If he could have just corrected the Vedic, because Veda's ultimate meaning of Veda is to reach Lord Krishna, is to get to the highest goal. But if he could have just kind of, spoken against some part of Vedas, but not entirely. The Vedas, in any ways, is to know Lord Krishna. So why, that he could have excluded that part or condemned only that part which spoke of the, sacrificing the animals. Uh, I don't know. Because the entire thing went on a reversal and so many other philosophies came into flow.
Okay, so let me just give you a simple example. Today, in America, if you go, children who are studying there when they are in their middle age, like just 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, parents can be arrested if children are not allowed to choose their gender. There is a sex called male and female, but gender can be chosen by children at that age, and they can choose their gender and decide to undergo gender reassigning surgery. And if parents interfere in that, they can be jailed, arrested and jailed. Okay. Why I'm saying this is because this is the kind of atmosphere that is prevailing at the current time in America. And their parents have been affected by this also. Okay. So, what is their capacity for rational thought? I'm not saying everybody is like this. I'm just talking about there is a lot of opposition to this also. There are people, intelligent people are fighting back against. All these things are there. But I'm just talking the general trend. For example, if you look at Microsoft, or if you look at huge companies based in America, besides the name of their CEO, they have to also write how they identify themselves. He, him, like that. They put like this. She, her. I've seen this practically. My wife's sister is herself a big person in a big company in America. So I've seen her beside her name. She puts she, her. So I'm not just making this up. So this is even in Microsoft, the presenters when they present, even big people in Microsoft, they say, okay, I identify myself as him, her, whatever they identify themselves as. So this is the general trend of society. Now, when you have such an overwhelming trend, you try to oppose it. Like, for example, there was a professor in Canada called Jordan Peterson. So when this law was being introduced in Canada, not this law, the law stating that you should refer to people with their gender specific pronouns if they prefer to be called she, or if they, and it was mandated as law. It is no more voluntary. If you don't address them like that, you will be imprisoned. Okay, which means that if someone is wants, suppose it's a biological male who wants to be called as she or her, so then you have to address that person, even though the person may be biologically male. You are supposed to address them as she or her and all that, and that became mandated into law. So if you don't follow, then there are legally ramifications for that. Of course, Jordan Peterson became very controversial for speaking out against it, and now he's very popular. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that is a state of consciousness that exists in the first world countries these days, heading towards that. It will soon come to India also. But this is one kind of consciousness that existed at this point in time, existing at this point in time. So during Prabhupada's time, women's liberation was very prominent. And Prabhupada, especially in Chicago press conference, what he spoke became highly controversial. And when Prabhupada noticed that this is becoming more and more controversial, he said, instead of preaching to this people, we should simply make them chant Hare Krishna. Because speaking to them is useless. It's only going to make things worse. So I gave you all this background to make you understand that it is not as simple as saying just correct people. It doesn't happen just like that. Just doesn't happen just like that. So you have to do the right thing at the right time, which is acceptable. Singing is okay. So you can still sing the names of God also. So the condition of Kali Yuga at the time of Lord Buddha was so degraded. The best way to establish the authority of the Vedas is to first of all reject it and make more people moral.
Correct.
Then you have, so the point was, Buddha, when he appeared, he rejected the Vedas with the specific purpose of making people moral. So they align with Vedic principles, and then Shankaracharya came and introduced the Mayavada. But you should remember that the people don't undergo a radical transformation immediately. It's over a period of time. That's why over a period of time, the acharyas appeared, and gradually we are where we are today.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. That really explains very well. That acceptance is not just instantly there. There are and everybody today has a mind of their own, which they try and impose more than acceptance is really lacking. So
you mean to say each person has their own lines?
Yes, and the populace is also moving according to the influence of
Yeah. So yeah. In the Krishna book, see, we are talking about two separate things. One is the what do you call it? Solution, and one is the state of the society. According to the state of the society, a solution is presented by Lord Buddha. Then according to the state of society, a solution is presented by Shankaracharya. Then Ramanuja, then Madhva. It went on like that until Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, where he revealed the whole truth. Now, first of all, this is speaking about solution to the problem. Okay, so the problem has been solved actually. Because as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is glorified, Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalau Samarpayitam Unnata Ujjvala Rasa Swabhaktim Shriya Hari Purita Duti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Swaratuva Sachinandanaha. So the Lord came as Sachinandana to reveal the highest truth which has never been revealed before. Okay, now just like when it is dark and the first rays of the sun begin to come out, begins to, the light comes, right? So like that, when things were really bad, then you had Buddha doing something, then you have what's it, Shankaracharya doing something. Finally, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like the mid-noon sun, or not mid-noon sun, noon sun, midday sun. You know? So, in the presence of the midday sun, in the night, there can be millions of glowworms, even billion or trillion, even a million or a trillion glowworms cannot equal the brilliant sunlight of the sun. So it is explained that in Kali Yuga, which is the age of darkness, there will be millions of such glowworms. But what is their capacity? All ordinary living beings trying to put forward some different philosophy. There will be millions of them. But they do not compare with the effulgence, with the brightness which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought. So he has brought the sunshine for us. There'll always be some people attracted by the glowworms. Nothing can be done about it. That's their choice, that's their prerogative. So let there be millions, and don't be bothered about it. Let there be millions of glowworms. Ultimately, it's the age of darkness. So there'll always be millions of glowworms, billions, trillions also. How does it matter? What matters is the presence of the brilliant midday or noon sunlight, which is Lord Chaitanya. So don't be bothered about what's happening with people. These people who are doing all these things are just glowworms. So we have to give people the sun. Show people the sun. That's all.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna? Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, we are able to.
I think there's too much background noise. I'll move to a different place. Okay, you can continue reading.
Okay. If, however, we accept the import of the Upanishads directly, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a person with unlimited potency. For example, the Shveta Ratra Upanishad, it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of everything, and he has multiple potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to the cosmic manifestation. He is the origin of all religion, the supreme deliverer, and the possessor of all opulences. I understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be just like the sun, profusely distributing his energies while stated beyond the cloud of this material cosmic manifestation. He is the master of masters and he is the supreme of supremes. He is known as the greatest Lord, the personality of Godhead. His multiple potencies are variously distributed. Also, the Rig Veda states that Vishnu is the supreme and that saintly persons are always anxious to see his lotus feet. And in the Atarya Upanishad, it is stated that the cosmic manifestation came about when the Lord glanced over the material nature. This is confirmed in the Prashana Upanishad. The negative descriptions of the Lord which occur in the Vedic literature, such as Apani Pada, this Lord has no hands or feet, indicate that the Lord has no material body and no material form. But he does have his spiritual transcendental body and his transcendental form. Because the Mayavadi philosophers misunderstand his transcendental nature, they explain him as impersonal. The Lord's name, form, qualities, intrusion, and abode are all in the transcendental word. How can he be transformation? How can he be a transformation of this material nature? Everything connected with the Supreme Lord is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. In effect, the Shankaracharya preached Mayavad philosophy to bewilder a certain type of atheists. Actually, he never considered the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, to be impersonal, without a body or form. It is best for intelligent persons to avoid lectures on Mayavad philosophy. We should understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is not impersonal. He is a transcendental person, and the basic principle of the cosmic manifestation is his energy. Mayavad philosophy cannot trace the energy of the Supreme Lord back to its source, but all Vedic literatures give evidence of the Supreme Lord's various energetic manifestations. Vishnu is not a product of material nature, but material nature is a product of Vishnu's potency. The Mayavadi philosophers understand Vishnu to be a product of material nature. But if Vishnu is a product of material nature, he can only be counted among the demigods. One who considers Vishnu to be a demigod certainly is certainly mistaken and misled. How this is so is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 7.1314. Deluded by the three modes of material nature, the whole world does not know me, who am above the material nature and inexhaustible. My material nature is so powerful that it is very difficult to surpass its spell, even for the greatest scholar. But those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Krishna.
So this is a very important. Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
I mean, also too dark.
No, it's absolutely fine, Prabhuji.
Krishna's lotus feet in the background.
No, Prabhuji, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, all right, okay. But I moved to a place. It was too noisy there where I was speaking with. So it is not possible. This is something which we have heard it, but we need to hear it quite often to understand it. That knowing the Supreme Lord is not possible by the methods which we normally know, right? We say that how do we get some knowledge of something that we, how to act in this material world? I mean, in general, I'm not talking about Krishna consciousness. You pick up a book, then you go to some expert who knows it. That's it. You hear from them. That's the end of it. Okay. But in our thing, there is one more step there. You go, you first of all read, then go to some expert, hear from them. There's one more thing. You have to also serve them. That is also not enough. You have to also please them. When they are pleased, then the knowledge transmission occurs. So our process is very. I mean, this is very important to understand about our process. It is not that we study Bhagavatam and understand Bhagavatam. We study Bhagavatam because we have been told to study Bhagavatam. Because it is for our purification, whatever. We study because we have been told. It's not that we're studying because it is comprehensible. We are studying with the attitude that this is Krishna. We've been told to approach Krishna like this, using the using our faculties of speech or comprehension or whatever we know English. We know English, so read the Bhagavatam in English. We've been told we are doing all these things. Then what is the next thing we will do? Okay, we do this. Then we go to someone who's, so we go, first of all, we go to the book Bhagavata. I mean, generally I'm saying, you have the book Bhagavata, you read the book Bhagavata, then you go to the person Bhagavata, who will also speak the book Bhagavata. Then you hear from such a, I mean, that you go to him and you hear from him. Then you ask the person, what shall I do for you? How shall I serve you? You serve the person. Then you ask, hope you are pleased with what I did. Is there anything that I can do to improve? You know, and please forgive me for any incompetencies on my part in serving you. So if that person blesses you, then we get what is called knowledge. This is our process. And it's very, very important to remember this. This is our process. That we get to know things as they are when pure devotees are pleased with us. That's all. Pure devotees are pleased means Krishna is pleased. Krishna is not the same as pure devotees. Krishna is Krishna. But because the pure devotees are very dear to Krishna, if they are pleased, he decides, okay, let me reveal myself to this devotee. He has pleased my pure devotees. So let me reveal myself to him or her. Any thoughts, reflections, questions? Read, read, okay, read, hear, serve, please, understand. That's all. This is our story. And then repeat it. Hear, sorry, read, hear, serve, please, then you'll understand. That's it. And then we repeat the process again. Yes, Rukmini Risuni.
Thanks so much, Prabhuji. So, I just want to share my understanding. Before this, when you were explaining. So, is it like that? It depends on the mentality. That yes, of course, the consciousness that how much a person can take at that particular time. When the story came of Narad Muni, so when there was a hunter, so to one he preached like you kill the animal. He was half killing the animals, so Narajmani said that you kill completely instead of half. When there was a hunter who was killing the animal, he said to stop. So it's like when I also they why Mohammedans they allowed to have a five wives, but because at that time they were so much into sense gratification. So it's like if they say, if at that time if they used to say that that you please have one wife, they would not have got agreed. So it's like we can preach according to the mentality of the person. And at that time when we talk about the Buddha philosophy and teachings of Lord Buddha, so people were using Vedas so it's like standing on the Vedas and doing wrong and taking the shoulder of the Vedas like this. So to stop it and to just separate the mass people and to get the pure devotees out of that. So it was happened. Tulsi, can we say like this? Is it okay?
Basically, I mean, I understand what you're saying. The point is, preaching is done usually according to the state condition of the audience, actually. So, see, I don't know if the example that you gave is because of specific time and circumstance. That I don't know. where Muslims are allowed to accept more than one wife. Even Hindus are also allowed. Only the British abolished, no? So there is no scriptural injunction which states that a man in Kali Yuga, there are some scriptural injunctions in Kali Yuga. Like, for example, you cannot offer animal sacrifice. I mean, you cannot kill a cow and offer inside. You cannot take sannyas and things like that. So to not accept more than one wife is not an injunction for Kali Yuga. I'm just saying. So there's no such thing either in Hindu scripture or, I mean, so my only thing is that I understand the principle, but the example that he gave specifically, it is because people at that time, otherwise they will not listen. That is difficult to me for me to say whether that's the intention behind why Prophet Muhammad did that, or it's just because it is one of the allowed religious principles. That I don't know. What exactly was the cause of him saying it? I mean, I don't think there is anything extraordinary in that because Hindu scriptures anyway permitted it. I don't know about Christianity. So if he also permits it, there's nothing extraordinary in that. In the sense that there's nothing extraordinary in terms of times and circumstances. Whether he said it because of that, that I don't know. But in general, the point that you're making is a very relevant point that you have to give people a solution. Just like uh, in our scriptures, as Prabhupada explains, the Puranas are 18, and six of the Puranas are meant for the Sattvic people, six of the Puranas are meant for the Rajasic people, and six of the Puranas are meant for the Tamasic people. So the Puranas are also written for different grades of people. So what you find in a Rajasic Purana is higher than what you find in a Tamasic Purana. Similarly, what you find in a Sattvic Purana is higher than what you find in a Rajasic Purana. And what you find in an Amala Purana, Bhagavatam, is higher than what you find in the Sattvika Puranas also. So Vedic scriptures provide for all mentality, all states of being, whether they are in Sattvic consciousness. When we say Sattvic, it does not mean fully Sattvic. Basically means predominantly Sattvic. That's the meaning. So for those who are in the mode of goodness, there are certain Puranas. Those who are in the mode of passion, there are certain Puranas. Those who are in the mode of ignorance, there are some Puranas. Six each actually. So that has always been a Vedic principle that do the needful to to keep someone on the Vedic path or bring someone to the Vedic path. Is it okay?
Yes, thank you, sir. Prabji. Prabji, I have one more question. Like, I was scrolling YouTube and I came across one news that about the Shankaracharya mutt. So, is this the same Shankaracharya, Mayavadi Shankaracharya? Is this existing? I came to know the heading, came to know about to know the heading about that. He is just after Modi, Prime Minister, and he's taking the side of the opposite party, Congress. So, and he got some letter from the Priyanka Vadra. So it's like that they have not actually after the demise of one of the main mutt. So they say that he's a Shankaracharya. So in 2022, after this, so they have not declared yet. Is it the same Shankaracharya? So we talk about.
Shankaracharya expressed, I mean, he established mutts in prominent places. Like, for example, Puri, Shankaracharya. So, like that, there are some places, I don't recollect which are the places where he established the mutts, but Puri, yes. So, like that, so these Matadipatis are considered as representatives of Shankaracharya. Generally, that's the understanding. So, he did not establish one single person like that, but he established mutts, and each mutt had a Matadipati. I don't know who the original people were, but they have their own tradition also. It's not that they don't come in, they have their own parampara also.
Okay, so is it the same Prabhuji, which we read in Prabhupada's literatures about when we read about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Is it the same one?
Who's
Varanasi.
same one?
Prabhupada, when we read the CC also, so it comes like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Varanasi and there were so many mathas of Shankaracharya.
Yeah. The
Okay,
Mayavada, the Shankara followers are very prominent there.
okay. So they are the Mayavadi philosophy.
Yeah. Mayavadi group. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I've got to go today. So we'll resume again next Thursday. Next Thursday would be the regular time, 4 o'clock. Thank you all very much for joining. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. If you have some questions from today, you don't have to hesitate. You can ask me again next week. You can start with that if you want also. I'm okay with it.
All right. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so
Hare
much. Hare Krishna. Thanks.